I also want to point out that another reason why I think Infect right now is really good, at least the version that I'm currently playing, why I really like it is this is by far the most consistent list that I've ever created. I really wanted to
Yeah.
make, you have Delver, right? Very consistent. And I wanted to copy this towards Infect.
EternalDurdles.com is the home for Magic the Gathering written content. If you want to write an article for EternalDurdles.com, reach out to @ForceOfPhil on all social media or Discord. You can support the show on Patreon at patreon.com/EternalDurdles. As part of your membership, you'll get access to an additional 15-minute audio episode every week and ad-free listening on all episodes. That's patreon.com/EternalDurdles. What it do?
So, Sam, I think one of the reasons why Infect is doing so well right now, is so well positioned, is because people forgotten how to play against it.
I mean, the deck's been gone for 2 years now, ever since Troll of Khazad-dûm was legal, and now it's back, so it makes sense that a lot of people probably have never even seen the deck before, since ever.
Yeah, I mean, so watching your video and experiencing the deck on my own, the main reason why we're talking with Sam Dams, aka Fenris Cloud, the main person to go to for Infect today. And you hit me up a little earlier in the week, I think Friday morning or Thursday night, and you were like, hey, Infect is good. Like, check this out, play it. And of course, I went over to your Patreon and I was like, what's he playing right now? Just copied your deck card for card, and holy crap, like, I've been doing pretty good with Cephalid Breakfast lately, but every game felt like, I had to like put in the work. I had to make sure that like it was just card for card, like everything I could do to get through. And traditionally I like to have a deck that has that I win button, but with the Infect deck, the matches were fast. Like,
yeah, for sure. You have time.
Tomorrow's episode that I'm going to put out, or so people will be watching this on Tuesday, so they will see yesterday's video, but we're recording on Sunday. So for us, it's tomorrow. For everyone else, it's yesterday. That video, I think, is 45 minutes long. 5 rounds in 45 minutes. Just slamming through, cutting out silences and stuff, but like slamming through the match relatively fast. And, I was able to 4-1. You have 2 5-0s under your belt right now.
Yeah, in 1 week. So let me start by saying that, yes, indeed, I hit you up, Zach, because I knew that you've played Infect in the past, right? And
yes.
Maybe some people know me these days as as a control player, but that's actually not true. I've been an Infect player at heart for years now. I've been playing deck for 10 years, and I've only recently swapped to control because the blue-black Reanimator matchup was impossible to beat. Trust me, I've tried everything. It was just not doable. And Infect has secretly been getting huge upgrades in the form of Embiggen and Legolas' Quick Reflexes. Embiggen is the best pump spell ever printed since Invigorate, because it's +4/+4 on everything but Inkmoth Nexus gets +5/+5, which is the extra +1/+1 is nothing to scoff at. It's very important. Like, Embiggen and Invigorate on Nexus is also 10. And I've won a lot of games from that spot. But then you have Legolas' Quick Reflexes, where you've talked about you like decks that have an I win button. Infect has never had that before. You had to work for all your wins. But that definitely has changed with Legolas, because I can sometimes look at my opening hands or just hands during the game and just watch them, and I'm like, yeah, I've won. And I know that nothing can happen. Like, if my opponent, if I'm playing against Control, for instance, they can have 3 Swords to Plowshares. It doesn't matter. I can have 1 Legolas, and the game is over, right? And I recently recorded a new video as well when I was playing Infect with my new list, because I actually 5-0'd the league, and I was like, okay, I think I've settled on my list. Let me record a video, and then immediately went 5-0 with that as well. It was like perfect. Couldn't have written it better myself.
Yeah.
And it was a showcase. Legolas was so good in so many spots. You can do some hilariously stupid things with Legolas, and a lot of people still don't know the card. So you can start by tapping your Nexus with itself, and then using your pump spells on a tapped Inkmoth Nexus. And a lot of exactly are just like, what the hell is going on?
What's going on?
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense.
Why is this person's obviously lost his mind?
Yeah, exactly.
3-for-1 Trading is having a spring sale from Wednesday, May 7th until Monday, May 12th. Their high-end Magic singles, sealed products, and gaming supplies are 5% off, and they offer free worldwide shipping on all orders over €500 or dollars.
Use code SPRINGSALE25 for a 5% discount and free worldwide shipping on all orders over $500 or €500 from their online store. Shop.3for1trading.com. Their promotion starts on Wednesday, May 7th at 6 p.m. Central Eastern Time and ends on Monday, May 12th, 11:59 p.m. Central Eastern Time.
Huge thanks to 3-for-1 Trading for supporting the Legacy community. Now back to the show.
So, Infect is a lot better than a lot of people might expect. But the downside of the printing of Legolas' Quick Reflexes is that it was printed alongside Troll of Khazad-dûm, and that's the time when Blue-Black Reanimator also became a deck, and that it was impossible to win that matchup, and it was way too dominant. If you wanted to win a tournament, you were going to face it at least once or twice, and that's why I decided to not play it anymore, even though I really, really wanted to. And I think since the ban of Troll, the deck is now pushed down finally enough that they have to be either a combo deck or either an aggro deck.
Yeah.
And that's fine, right? If you play like Infect against that matchup, you want to be a combo deck. So if you want to beat the combo aspect, that's possible. If you want to beat the aggro aspect, that's also possible. But you can't do both because you have to dilute your deck too much.
Yeah, anytime an Atraxa hits the board also, that basically negates 2 out of 3 of your creatures because only Blight Agent's going to be able to get through. You know,
exactly.
At least with like Grizzlebrand, they had to tap to attack. You know, like,
yeah, exactly.
They had that going for them.
And if they want to go for Atraxa now, it's fine. You have Endurance, you have Graveyard Hate, and if you want to stop that, it's okay. But if you stop the Graveyard Hate and then they follow it up with like a Bowmasters, I mean,
yeah, it's very
black
hard.
has always been the most difficult color for Infect, and if it's both a combo and an aggro deck, it's just impossible. It really was. But now that's gone.
This is a deck that, you know, I have this whole, you know, I like a deck with an I win button. And in fact, you know, our difference on what we think the I win button is, I want to talk about real fast.
Mm-hmm.
For me, the I win button is just having like 10 Infect. Like having a combo kill in your deck is where I want to be, right? I want to be able to end the game quickly once I have established dominance. Or if I don't have to establish dominance and I can just win, even better, right? And Cephalid Breakfast has that as well in the breakfast side of the deck. But we don't have the war on two fronts part, which is something that I've always considered a weakness in a lot of decks. Is like when you can't, you know, I guess you could attack with Noble Hierarch and then you're playing a war on two fronts.
Yeah,
but it's very rare that happens, right?
Yeah, especially
especially
these days with Embiggen. In the past, we played it Become Immense and stuff like that, but Embiggen on Noble is just +3. That's
one of the great things about your particular one. I didn't use this sideboard. I used a slightly different sideboard, but the Great Stable Sag and the Endurance.
Yeah.
Those are great.
Those are, again, I'm shameless plug again, but the recent video I recorded, Endurance has been a house, and even I win the 5-0, the last game with Great Sable Stack, and check if you don't want to watch anything, just watch the last 5 minutes, because I'm laughing like a little child, because it was like perfect. It was the perfect
for the combo
ending.
Kill, stay for the Great Stable Stag.
Yeah, exactly. Because a lot of people, when they see Great Sable Stag, and I understand, you see the card and you're like, so this is like, I don't know, a draft rare from Magic 11. It's bad in Limited. Why would you play this in Legacy? But it's a very, very targeted silver bullet for very specific matchups. Usually when people who play Infect tell me that the card's bad, it's because they bring it in matchup where it is bad. I have the card for one matchup, which is blue-black, and nothing else. But that's the best deck in the format right now. It's the most popular aggro deck. So that's why you have the sideboard cards, right? If I have that card against that deck, I win, period. That's why I play only 2 of them, and in those matchups.
I have fiddled around with True Nemesis before as well, which serves a similar purpose, you know.
Exactly. The thing is, that can be countered.
Yes.
Great Sable Stack can't even be countered.
Yeah.
It's just, it has protection from everything and you can't counter it. It's ridiculously good. But that's what I usually like. I like having silver bullets, and Endurance kind of does the same thing, but then against Delver, right? Again, in the video, you will see...
yeah, I sure do.
broken record at this point, but I play Endurances specifically because they are very good against Delver, because it's an alternative game plan, right? If I resolve one Endurance against Delver decks, you win, because they have difficulty getting rid of it.
Especially if they haven't gotten out a Murktide yet. But on top of that, you can just swing into a Murktide and pump and kill a Murktide.
And now you have Legolas too, so you can just pump your guy, Legolas, kill the creature, and then it's Legolas's Quick Reflexes was by far the MVP in the league, and trust me, if you've always wanted to try out Infect but you feel like it's not a good deck, trust me, now is your time to do so, because
the deck almost runs itself right now. It's pretty wild how well positioned it seems to be.
I think that's because Legolas is we used to play Vines of Vastwood, right? That's just not a 2025 Magic card anymore. Playing double green to pump your creature for 4/4 No, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
But you don't need that. We have now more pump spells than ever, and we also have Legolas as protection, which just always works, period. And there's so many cool things you can do with it, like if I'm on Wastelands, your Inkmoth Nexus, fine, you animate it, then you Legolas, it untaps, you tap it to shoot a creature, my turn, right?
Yep.
They're ridiculously powerful.
Yeah, there was a match that I played where I had 3 of them against a Dimir deck.
Nice.
And I was like, okay, like I'm just chipping in 2 damage a turn right now. I had a Hierarch and I had a Blade Agent. I was like, there's no way they can get rid of this. And we're racing. They're doing damage. I'm chipping in for damage. And I'm like, okay, I think if I just play Glistener Elf as a blocker, like there's absolutely nothing that they can do. And I was very scared when they flashed in, or whatever, ninjutsu'd in Kato. I was like, oh no, I didn't think about this. I was like, oh, actually, he can't tap my guy.
No,
with
it's
it.
fine.
I'll just even if he could tap it, let's pretend he could tap it, right? I can just untap with Legolas Quick Reflexes and still block, But why bother, playing around something like that? So I ended up using all 3 Legolas Quick Reflexes. I feel bad for my opponent because they had
and they
like,
stack.
Seriously.
For people who don't know, if you play multiple Legolases, they stack. So if you pump you didn't even know that, Zach? It's hilarious. So imagine your opponent.
2 at the same time.
Yeah, if your opponent has 2 blockers, right? You invigorate a Glistener Elf, and you use Legolas twice. You get to shoot 2 things,
or something very big. Yeah,
exactly.
Wow,
it's so good. I love it, and you can also do some sweet tricks with this, where you have Noble as a blocker, right? But Legolas's Quick Reflexes also gives you reach. So if your opponent attacks with a Delver, what you can do is you can Legolas's Quick Reflexes, use a pump spell on the Noble, you block the flying creature, and then you can tap the Noble for mana, and then you can shoot another creature as well. So there's so many cool combat tricks you can do with it. It has made the deck a lot of fun. You started to this conversation with the question, what do you understand when you're talking about an I win button, right?
Yeah.
What I mean with an I win button is I now have the cards in my hand, and I know that I cannot lose, right?
Yeah.
In
There's
the past,
no combination of cards your opponent could have to get you. Yeah.
Because sometimes you can have Invigorate Berserk, but if your opponent has 1 Swords to Plowshares, you've just killed yourself, right? But with Legolas, that's just no longer true. Again, in the video, there are multiple situations where I said, yeah, I can't lose from this spot. And that's just, it's also so awkward for your opponents, because sometimes, even against players who know that Legolas is a card, what are they going to do, right? Because they all have their 3 open white mana, and they have all these swords in their hand, and you go Invigorate Berserk, and you can just feel the tension, yeah, if I have all these swords and they have Legolas, it just does not matter. I will just not be able to interact with this. It's ridiculously powerful. It really is. And I feel sorry for them, but then I remember I had to play through all the years of Ren and 6 and Plague Engineers, so suddenly I don't feel as bad anymore.
We did have you were speaking initially about the initial printing of Legolas Quick Reflexes and how Troll kind of stifled that. But we did have this sweet spot of a couple months before people really figured out the Rescaminator package, where and that was to put a pin in this, directly when it got printed, Legolas Quick Reflexes, because I had to buy online whatever the package was, the Galadriel package, and had them shipped to my house, and they arrived the morning before I left for Eternal Weekend.
Nice.
Of course, they had giant they were total Pringles.
Mm-hmm.
So I did take them and get them to Eternal Weekend, and I played the deck at Eternal Weekend. And the deck that actually got me the most was anytime somebody played Blood Moon. Anytime someone Blood Mooned me, the game was pretty much over for me. Now I fought through one in my video where I fought through a Blood Moon and I fought through a Harbinger. How do you feel about the increase of Harbinger? And honestly, the Blood Moon decks have seemed to have gone down a bit because Painter is becoming a blue deck. So I think this is also a perfect time in the meta too, where Blood Moon is kind of at a minimum versus the ways it's been for the last 2 years.
Yeah. I totally agree. Blood Moon decks / Chalice decks have always been the worst matchups for Infect for a long while now. In fact, I've gone to the point where I've talked the same when I was on the last episode for the Control matchup, or discussing Jeskai Control. I think you can go either 2 ways when you have bad matchups. 1, you go all in on beating it. 2, you just ignore that the deck exists, and if you encounter it, you're just going to lose. I think it's one of the 2 choices you can take. And my recent idea has always been the second one, and I've done the same when I've been playing against Moonstompy. If I encounter it, I'm going to lose. However, I feel like that's no longer the case. Mainly because the deck that I'm playing, again, is just generic blue-green. I'm no longer splashing white, which is extremely important. I've played white in the past, mainly because of Swords to Plowshares. You wanted to have that card to get rid of some threats. But again, Legolas is a removal spell. I actually started out with an experiment cutting white again, and I don't miss it. You don't need it anymore. You have your removal spell. And the fact that you can now play one forest, I've recently adjusted my sideboarding against Moonstompy, and I've only played against it three times since I've made my new list, but I won all 3 of those games, which was, to me, extremely unexpected, because I still think it's going to be a bad matchup. But I have seen shifts in the deck where now it's much more on the One Ring and stuff like that, which is 4 mana. I mean, the deck gets to it pretty quickly, but if you can get to turn 2, you usually have the ability to get that basic forest. And that's really important as well. Having the basic in there is really, really nice. And on top of this now, our pump spells are much cheaper, right? You have Invigorates, which are free, and Embiggens are 1 green. Instead of in the past, where you had to have Vines, it's double green, right? So again, I think it's just another sign that Infect has gotten a lot of upgrades. So I'm not as afraid of Blood Moon anymore as I was in the past, but that's mainly because the upgrades of the deck and being just blue-green. I've even tried playing a basic island into the deck, but Hedge Mage is just much better.
Yeah, Hedge Mage was, and I think, to mirror what you said, I think in your video, you showed the power of Hedge Mage, just dazing, popping Hedge Mage back, and just getting all that lovely selection out of that card was really just eye-opening to see how that was working. Hey, Legacy fans, since you're enjoying the show, please like and subscribe the video. It helps the channel grow.
Support Eternal Turtles on Patreon so we can create even more content and cover events.
Patreons get an ad-free RSS feed, 4 bonus episodes a month, and Discord recognition. Join the Dirtle Maniacs at patreon.com/EternalDirtles.
Now back to the show.
But then something that I thought was kind of interesting was, let me go back to the Moonstompy real fast. So I'm not seeing Moonstompy at all in the meta. I'm seeing Blood Moons out of the sideboard of Painter decks, right? And Painter being on the down tick as well, right? So when you've got this sort of nexus of the main thing that was eating our deck was the top deck in the meta, which was
our deck. Black. I love it when you say our deck. Yeah. Welcome back. Welcome back to Infect. Well, yeah. Forget about separate breakfast.
The Royal R. Everyone watching as well, right?
Exactly.
But yeah, I think the biggest difference is now that Delver is moving back, like the tempo decks are moving back to red, right? You can play Dimir Tempo, and Dimir Tempo is still one of the best decks in the format, but the pressure is off you to solve the threat problem. All you have to do is solve the removal problem. So if you're not going, okay, I need to worry about their reanimation combo, and I have to worry about like Fatal Push and Orcish Bowmasters and this XYZ. I think when you get the red shift, you're already good against decks that have red removal, right? You're just like, I'll just Invigorate and we'll go to the next turn and see if I can draw a Embiggen, right? Black has the most like lights out cards for you, right? Snuff Out, Fatal Push. Those cards all solve the problem, right? Because you can't invigorate your way out of a Fatal Push, right?
No, exactly.
So now that we can focus on, okay, we have to save our counterspells for Fatal Push. We have to save our Force of Wills for Snuff Out and whatnot. So now it comes down to timing, and this is the realm of the Infect player, right?
Yes.
Like timing is everything for us. We have a monopoly on when we're casting things, right? A good player will know, okay, like it's not optimal to bolt into attacking Bladed Agent, right? Because they'll just pump and they'll get around the bolt, and then I'll take the damage as well. You don't want to act first. But I think the thing is that people haven't played against the deck for so long that these little tiny teensy like these minute mistakes are all the difference right now in Magic.
Yeah,
especially in Legacy. You make that one stumble and the game is over. And that's kind of been the state of Legacy for the last 2 years. It's like everyone kind of needs the I win button. I think Eternal Glory had said that it's the gravity hyperbaric chamber that we were all fighting on because we were all trying to like beat at the time Rescaminator. So everyone was like, I have to have a deck that just like has the like the most powerful thing to do. And everyone tinkered their decks in that direction. And so now that we also have done that, but everyone's been fighting each other for so long, they kind of forgot how to fight against Infect.
Yeah, for sure. I played a relatively small tournament today. I think I had, in the 5 rounds that I played, in 2 of them, I had people reading my cards. Like, what does Embiggen do? What does Legolas do? Let me read that. That's an experience. I mean, that's a good feeling, right? Because people don't know what it does. And if you like playing Embiggen on an Inkmoth Nexus, you can sometimes see people counting. And then I'm like, yeah, I'm going to slam in. And they're like, okay, so how many? I'm like, yeah, that's 10.
Yeah, you're dead.
Right. And why? Yeah, because it's an artificial creature, and there's super types, subtypes, etc. And I always just say, you know what? Just call a judge, because it's it's if I say it, it's a bit awkward.
Phyrexian is now a thing.
Yeah, exactly. The first time it's an upgrade, right?
Yeah. Well, also that's another point to make, is that we haven't seen Plague Engineer. Right?
Okay, no.
Plague Engineer hasn't been a card people have been playing. Now that could change, but
I doubt it.
Goblins,
I think
Goblins is gone. No one's playing Goblins anymore, so there's no reason to bring it in against Goblins. Elves is gone, right?
It's no longer
playing Elves. You know, so that card is such a minimal choice to bring in against almost every other. Like, what are you going to name? Wizards against?
Yeah, it's such a bad card right now, which is good for us.
It's excellent for us. Yeah.
I also want to point out that another reason why I think Infect right now is really good, at least the version that I'm currently playing, why I really like it, is this is by far the most consistent list that I've ever created. I really wanted to make you have Delver, right? Very consistent. And I wanted to copy this towards Infect. And if you look at the list, 60 cards, of course, and it's all 4 ofs, where in the past you had like 2 ofs, 1 ofs, 1 ponder, 3 ponder, etc. No, that's not what I'm doing. 4 days, 4 forces, 4 ponder, 4 brainstorm. It's 4 of everything.
Yeah, you just
with a small exception, you just play 2 berserks and 3 Legolas Quick Reflexes, because I had to cut 1 card for Hedge Maze.
Yeah,
but that's also a deliberate choice, because I think that's the worst card against an open field. Like, sometimes you don't need it against combo decks, and Omnitel and Sneak and Show are very popular right now, so there's one on the sideboard. That's not a mistake or anything. It's very streamlined, and we also play 8 dedicated pump spells right now, which is the most we've ever played, right? I very rarely consider Vines of Vast to be a dedicated pump spell, but that was part of the pump spell plan in the past. We played 4 Invigorates, then 3 Vines, and then maybe 1 Scale Up, 1 Become Immense. Not now. We have 8 dedicated pump spells and 3 dedicated protection spells. Much more streamlined.
It's also nice to not have to rely on our graveyard at all. Like,
exactly.
Not that people were often bringing in stuff against our Become Immenses, but like, incidentally, somebody would be like, oh, well, he could have Become Immense, and they'd hit they'd relic or something like that to draw a card, and you'd be like, ah.
Yeah, definitely. Indeed, for sure. And the fact that combo is still played a lot, like in the tournament I played today, only 28 players, but 5 or 6 of them were playing a show and tell variant.
Yeah, that just doesn't interact with you at all.
No, in fact, crushes that deck.
Yeah.
Another reason why, and also like Oopsal spells, not a deck that I'm very afraid of. That's why I'm playing the triple endurances. Doomsday, again, a very good matchup. Generally, Infect is good against combo, which is why I've been so happy with Legolas, because that's a card made to beat the fair decks. So overall, another very, very good upgrade.
Yeah, I think that's a point worth mentioning too. Is like one of the reasons I gravitate to this deck, especially initially, was because when I first picked up the deck, Rug Delver was very bad, and I was a big Rug Delver tempo player. And I was like, what if I played a deck that doesn't care about my opponent's opposing Deathrite Shamans at the time, right? And I just play Delver with a combo kill in it, right? And that's what Infect is, right? You're playing a tempo deck that has a combo kill. And
exactly.
If your opponent doesn't have removal, you're just playing a combo deck. You're playing a combo deck that is faster and more resilient against your opponent's combo deck, right? You can turn 2 people pretty regularly, and turn 3 is pretty easy to pull off a lot of times, especially because if you're like, turn 1, I'll play Hierarch, and then next turn you're like, I'll play Blighted Agent with like a mana open, and then you're like, go, and then you untap, and you're like, okay, now I can brainstorm or ponder to find the other card that I'm missing, and still get in, and still play a land. So I have access to 4 mana, right? So I can play 2 pump spells if I have to. That's 10 with the Hierarch on the board, or Berserk with a pump spell. Like, you basically just open yourself up to be in a situation where it's very easy for you to beat an opponent that is not prepared against the deck.
No, exactly. And if we look at our ideal combo, it's 1 green mana. Invigorate plus Berserk is 1 green. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. It's
fragile, right? That's why the deck is not played all that much. It's very fragile and easy to stop, very difficult to pilot. But once you get that sweet spot where you really know what you should be doing, it's so scary to play against.
Yeah.
And that's
you
why
really have to soul read your opponent too sometimes.
Exactly. And this is the downside. You really need to know the meta. Like, I think I can probably write down at least 40 of the 60 cards that every deck plays in, like, top 15 decks in Legacy. And that's mainly what you need to know is you need to know the removal spells. Like, prepare for Eternal Weekend very, very intensely. And I just have a list, and I usually, every day, I just read them. And by that I mean I have a dedicated list of the removal suite that most decks plays. When I enter Eternal Weekend, I know everything, right? Also, usually Sephiroth Breakfast plays 0 swords in the main, stuff like that. Important to know when you're playing an Infect deck, because then you know, first game, I'm just going to always go for it. Or do I need to wait for protection? Same
Not
for when
anymore.
you're playing
Don't
against...
that anymore. I'm playing 4 sword splash shares in the main.
Exactly, but that's what I mean.
Yeah.
These things change.
They
you
change
need to be
every time,
aware of how the meta is currently moving forward, and that's why it's not a deck that you can pick up and you play your own game. Sometimes it looks like that because, I'm just going to Invigorate Berserk, whatever. That's not true. You need to be well aware of what's happening.
Yeah. So one of the other really cool parts of the deck is being able to... Well, so one situation that happened to me that I think, we've kind of solved now is... A lot of times what happens, and this happened to me in the last match, in the last video I did, my opponent wastelanded and then surgicaled my tropical island. Most times that's game over. Like, what are you going to do? I had a hierarch out, so I had to like rely on my hierarch for mana, but I had access to the hedge maze.
Yes,
and
I had the exact same thing. It's so cool.
It's great because your opponent's like, lights out. They spent 2 cards to get rid of what they think is your whole mana base. And you're like, yeah, okay, I'll just get I'll get a tap land, I get a little bit of value, lose maybe a little bit of tempo, but I'm still in this game.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Exactly.
And that is wild to like be able to just like that one, like, because we were never gonna be the deck that played like a breeding pool. That
no.
We're already a little worried about our life total to begin with a lot of times, and you don't want to take that chance. Anybody else can, like, that's why I always thought that one of the more interesting matches was the Infect versus Death Shadow match, because Death Shadow was like, I have carte blanche, do whatever I want.
See, that's the first deck when that was the real deck. That's the first time I started playing Great Sable Stag, because that was
you're like, you made a mistake.
Yeah, exactly. You are dead. It's good right now against Blue Black, but against Death Shadow, there was just nothing that they could do.
Yeah, it's like
literally nothing.
What, are you at 2? Okay, I'm just gonna play this. Can you beat me?
Okay, good job.
Yeah.
Good job.
But that was why I was playing Berserk in my Death Shadow deck, so I could really get in there.
All right, yeah, that's nice. That's nice. No, but the Hedge Maze really ties everything together. It's such a good addition. It's so free. It's also because very often you want to play Blooded Agent turn 2, so just playing the Fetch Land turn 1 is not that big of a deal. And I love the combination of being able to get the Hedge Maze, play Blooded Agent, they counter it, you daze, picking up the Hedge Maze. It's, oh man, sweet stuff.
Yeah. Well, Sam, I think we can see. I'm definitely going to be messing around with this deck a little bit more. I assume you're going to keep messing around with it.
Yeah,
seems like the time. So I'm excited to see what we pull off in the next couple of weeks. But I thought, like, this almost feels like this just in. Like, it's like, I was like, okay, well, like, you hit me up on Friday. I was like, okay, yeah, I'll check it out. Played the deck, and then like I did well with it too. And I was like, we have to have an episode just like reminding people that this is a deck. If they used to play it, they should start playing it. And if they aren't respecting it, that's on them.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I wanted to talk about this, and I agree with you totally. And when going back to Infect, because after every single ban that Blue Black has gotten in the past months, I've always gone back because it's still my first love, right?
Yep.
It's always is it time yet? And it was every single time, no, not yet, too soon. And now finally, I felt it immediately. Yeah, it's time. It's time to come back. And then especially after going 2 5-0s very quickly after each other, after not playing all that much, because I don't have that much time anymore. Right now, I think my average is like 3-2 at a minimum, and usually around 4-1. So that's somewhere in between. So that's a very, very good score. Getting a 5-0 is rare. So yeah. Deck's good. Give it a try.
Hell yeah. Sam, normally this is the point of the show that I would tell people to go to our Patreon and check out our Patreon, but I want to tell people in the direction of your Patreon, which is patreon.com/FenrisCloud.
Exactly.
I want to say.
Yeah.
It's cheap. It's like $3.50.
Yeah, I
you
tried
get
to keep my
sideboard
choices.
guides, you know,
Yeah.
like just
There's
like
there's
come
3
on.
tiers. You have the cheapest one. It's just $3 for a monthly sideboard guide. $5 for, when there's something to tell about the meta changes, I make a video. And there's like a Berserk tier, which is like private lessons, but that's a bit more expensive. But I try and make it not too expensive because I want to have people play the deck. That's basically it.
Yeah, and I will say this: I used your sideboard guide in that last league, and
Oh, nice.
it worked perfectly, like spot on.
That's
So
what I love to hear.
if I can, all I can do is send people in your direction, tell them like this is where to get that information from. Beyond that, Sam, thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Hey, if you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button. It grows the legacy content ecosystem we all love by relaying to the platform that you are part of our passionate community.
And to go even further, click the links for subscription or to support directly via Patreon to help us create more content for you. Patreon supporters get 4 exclusive extra episodes per month. If you're listening on an audio platform, head over to patreon.com/eternaldurdles.
Thanks so much for your support.
We'll see you in the next one.